Hi folks, this is Tank Girl, and this is my review of the Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL. Now, the embargo lifted about a day ago, and I did do a live video review of these, but I didn't feel like it was of high enough quality to really give you a good feel for what's going on. I also haven't really used the phones a ton, so having an extra day to use it gave me a lot more insight. And so I wanted to walk you through it, basically. Now, I'll be really honest and really clear. The Pixel 2 XL is really the phone that I'm interested in. And so I'm going to spend most of my focus and energy on that. But I will talk quickly about the Pixel 2 as well, for those of you who are looking for almost exactly the same experience in a smaller form factor. So the most obvious thing you can see right here is that they look very similar with different screen sizes and different aspect ratios, which is really the big deal. Last year's Pixel and Pixel XL were very similar, just one was a scaled version of the other, and the only difference was the screen resolution and the battery size. This year we have a difference in screen resolution and battery size still, but we also have a difference in aspect ratio and a difference in design. Now, if you turn them over and look in the back, these phones are, they look the same. They look like they're part of a family, right? You've got this glass band and then aluminum fingerprint reader. The camera and the flash are swapped, but overall the design is matches. Now, there are some differences. The Google logo is embossed here, but it's silk screened there. And as I said, the cameras are swapped around. These are the same cameras. I just want to be very clear about that. And so, they look pretty much the same. Now, they come in different colors, and in black like this, they do look like they're part of a family. But as soon as you turn them over, they don't look like that anymore. You kind of lose this family resemblance because of the aspect ratio. And it's kind of vexing, because if you go for the smaller Pixel, you're not getting that much smaller of a phone, but you're getting quite a bit smaller of a display. 5 inches, 1080p versus 6 inches, Quad HD Plus, which is an 18:9 aspect ratio, 1440 by 2880, and this is just standard 1080p at 16:9, right? So the other difference is, they don't have that cohesion in design that last year's Pixels had, and let me show you that. Check out the edges here of the display on the Pixel 2, right? You can see that it's flat all the way to the edge. And then you have this bevel here. It's beveled. I don't know if you can see it. But yeah, there you can kind of see it there. Perhaps I can remove this out of the frame so that the camera can focus. But you have this bevel there. And you can see it clearly there. And so bevel and a flat screen. Now, if you pull the other one into the frame, and let's move the other one out of the frame, you'll see what I'm talking about. There is a 3D effect. The screen is not, doesn't quite go to the edge, right? Not like a Galaxy where it falls. There's a bit of a bezel on each side, but it does kind of roll into the metal. And the metal doesn't have a bevel. You can see it there. No bevel, just round glass. So because of that, and because of the aspect ratio difference, these don't feel like they're from the same, family of phones. And then add to the fact that, the rounded corners on the corners here versus square, etc. So it's a bit jarring design-wise. Their Pixels last year were, even though they were boring, they really seemed to be out of one design language, and these are kind of slightly different. Now, there is a reason for that. The Pixel 2 is made by HTC and the Pixel 2 XL is made by LG. Google doesn't want to make a fuss about this because obviously they want these to be Google phones, but that's the big difference here. In fact, this display on the Pixel 2 XL is the same as the V30s, but there's a lot more bezels on this, as you can see, Despite being a supposedly bezel-less design with very small bezel tops and bottom, it does have a lot of bezels on the edges. And this one, oh my god, bezel central. Look at these massive bezels, which you're going to get for a 16:9 display, but it's a little disappointing. If you look at the phone like the Nexus 5, it had a 16:9 display, but it had much smaller bezels than this. So this is kind of my takeaway on the design. Now, there is an improvement over last year's design, and that's that these two are water-resistant phones. They're IP67, they're splash-proof. I wouldn't go dump them in the pool or anything like a Galaxy or V30, but you're protected this year, you weren't last year. The other big thing you can see on both of them is dual speakers, right? So they have stereo audio, top and bottom here, and they both have it. There you go, and you can see it here. Now, stereo speaker means great audio, and in fact, these sound pretty nice for speaker listening to music over speakers. But you've got the, you've got a bit of a difference here because the Pixel 2 made by HTC has louder speakers, fuller speakers at max volume than the Pixel 2 XL made by LG. Small difference there, but I wanted to point that out. So if you're shopping and trying to decide and this matters to you, you know. Another big difference is there's no headphone jack this year. So let me walk you through the phones real quick. Let me first start with the Pixel 2. So as I said, front-facing camera, 8 megapixel, main speaker, earpiece, secondary speaker down there. No buttons, it's all on the screen. 1080p display, 5 inches, 16:9. In the back, you've got that camera, 12 megapixel, OIS f/1.8. That's an improvement over f/2.0 last year and no OIS last year. You got dual LED, dual color, I think, potentially flash on here. Fingerprint sensor. And this finish on the aluminum feels like plastic, but it's nice and grippy. It's kind of like a very less coarse version of like truck bed liner, if you know what I'm saying. So interesting design choice there. On top, you have the secondary microphone, and that's it. On the left-hand side, you've got the SIM slot, which, by the way, is just a nano SIM. There is no SD expansion on these phones, like all Pixels and most Nexuses in the past. USB Type-C, primary microphone at the bottom, and on the right-hand side, you got the power lock key and volume rocker. And these are not ridged. There's no ridge on the power this year, which is a little different design. So that's the lay of the land. And now if I compare it with the XL, you'll see that it's very similar. 8 megapixel camera, primary speaker and earpiece, secondary speaker for stereo down here, and of course this beautiful Quad HD Plus 6-inch display that's plastic OLED from LG, which is really beautiful. There's a lot of people talking about how it's a little dull, but I'm sorry, this looks like a really beautiful, solid display. Sorry for the reflection from the window. Should probably point it the other way. But as you can see, this is a good, solid display. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'll have to say that if I compare those two displays real quick, there is something to be said about the Pixel 2 having a really nice display as well. They're both really good in terms of color and saturation and everything else. So you're getting good displays no matter what. I think, though, when you look at them, maybe the Pixel 2 seems like a slightly better display, even though on paper, this this Pixel 2 XL should be the winner. So let's carry on. On top, you have secondary microphone again and nothing else. On the left-hand side, you've got the SIM tray. Again, no micro SD, just a nano SIM. On the bottom, you have the USB Type-C port. There's no microphone here because it's embedded inside that speaker. And then on the right-hand side, you've got the power lock key and volume rocker. And again, no dimples, no way to tell them apart, which is a little disappointing. In the back, you've got, again, that 12 megapixel f/1.8 camera. These are large pixels, 1.4 microns, but has OIS. Last year, no OIS. Last year, f/2.0, and this is going to become important in a minute. Dual LED flash, fingerprint reader, And again, embossed Google logo versus silk screened on the other one. Here's the silk screen one. You can see the difference. All right. So now that we've talked about the Pixel, the differences and everything, let's quickly talk about differences in terms of battery, because there are some differences. And let's talk about the guts real quick. The Pixel 2 has a 2700 milliamp hour. The Pixel 2 XL has a 3520 milliamp hour battery. Those are both pretty damn awesome, but you know, you got to keep in mind that you're going to get less battery life out of the Pixel 2, even though it's got a small display. So if you want a battery champ, go for the Pixel 2 XL. I've been easily able to go a day and a half with the Pixel 2 XL on a charge. This is currently my main phone, my daily driver. So the Pixel 2 I haven't really driven daily, so I don't really know. But I think everybody that I've talked to seems to be agreeing that it should be possible to get a day out of it, no problem. So just keep that in mind, other than the display battery differences, right? Both of them are Snapdragon 835, which is state-of-the-art SoC, and then it's got 4 gigs of RAM, and you have a choice between 64 gigs of storage or 128 gigs of storage. Remember, no micro SD, so you're stuck with that. So that's the lay of the land in terms of these phones. So let's put away the Pixel 2 and focus on the Pixel 2 XL, because now I want to show you some experiences, some things that those phones do. The first thing that I really love about this phone, in these phones, is the wallpapers. I don't know if you can see it very well here, but the beach down here is animated. See that? And so there's a whole gallery of these wallpapers that are animated like this. And let me show you. For example, there is one called "The World Comes to You," and you know, there it is. It's gorgeous. The Earth actually slowly spins. As you can see right now, it's slowly spinning away. At night, it's dark. You see thunderstorms. You see the outlines of the lights on cities. It's truly gorgeous and remarkable. Here's another one I really like, and that's the this Hawaii kind of cloudscape. You can kind of see it moving. In a second, you're going to start seeing cars on the road. It is beautiful. You see that? So there is, the clouds are just moving slowly, and you see cars. These are all very subtle. At first glance, you don't notice that they're animated, and then you notice later on when you have a look, and you can have the phone for a while. The other one is this one. So as I said, you know, you can see the Japan here lit up at night, and it just spins around really slowly. It's kind of fantastic. So let's go back to what I had, which is kind of like the default, which is this guy. And so the wallpapers, you know, it's kind of a gimmick, right? But it's cool. And you know, Google's always had animated wallpapers, and I've always thought it was kind of an interesting differentiator. Then the other thing is you can squeeze the phone now. Let me demonstrate this by locking it. If you squeeze it, you get the assistant. As you can see, it totally understood me. I'll show you again. Just squeeze the phone, and there it goes. It vibrates in your hand, and you're good to go. So you can get to the assistant. That's the only thing you can do. So this is on both phones, and it's interesting because HTC brought this feature to the U11, but it didn't do it. It did it differently. This is really about the assistant, whereas HTC wanted you to be able to launch any app. And it's adjustable, of course, and you can turn it off. So I think it's cool. I'm not sure I'll use it much, but the other thing, obviously, that's back is the double tap power button to start the camera really fast. And it is really fast, as you can see. And so the last thing you probably noticed is an always-on display. Both phones have this. It shows you the time and your next calendar appointment, you know, stuff like that. what notifications you have. And down there, it will show you this really cool feature, like a music ID feature, like Shazam. But the difference is you can be in airplane mode and this Shazam feature will work, which is kind of amazing. It does it continuously. It just puts in the name of the music it recognized, and it puts it in your notification tray if you want as well. You can turn that off, of course. So what else do I want to talk about? I said there is no headphone jack. And that's really annoying to me. But since we are there and there's nothing we can do about it, we just have to accept, because this is going to be my daily driver, there is a dongle in the box, which is really good. So here's the thing. Listen to my podcast for the more details on this. But I had a whole episode where we ranted about this. I don't remember who my guest was. But there is two ways to do USB-C audio, analog and digital. The analog versus digital debate is, got pros and cons. But if you go digital, like the U11 and this phone and the Pixel 2 XL, you need a dongle that actually has a headphone amp and DAC inside the dongle. And that means that if you want to sell the dongle cheap, which is what HTC did, $15, you're going to get a cheap amp and cheap DAC, and it's going to sound not so good. And so if you're listening with analog headphones, you're sacrificing some audio performance. And the U11 is a poster child for that. HTC, well known for making really high quality audio performance out of their headphone jacks on their phones, like the HTC 10, with the U11 kind of lost that edge because the dongle included was crap, or is crap. So thankfully, the Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL come with a really decent dongle. It's probably as good as a built-in DAC or a headphone amp in a decent flagship today. Now, the V30 with his hi-fi quad DAC still wins that battle by bringing in phenomenal performance, audio performance. And you're going to say, why do you care about this, Miriam? Well, look, guys, I'm a bit of an audiophile, number one. Number two, there is this huge variety of headphones, earbuds, and in-ear monitors that have a 3.5mm headphone jack. Much bigger variety than the wireless ones that are available even with aptX HD, which is a very good Bluetooth wireless quality audio. So for me, it's about choice and it's about ubiquity. Headphone jacks is everywhere. If you want to plug into an old car, there's an aux input, you can do it, etc., etc., etc. And then the final thing is, you don't have to bring a dongle. You can charge at the same time, all that good stuff. So the lack of headphone jack is a pain, but the good news is that Google gave us a decent dongle. And I don't know if that dongle is how much it's going to cost standalone, but if you have an HTC U11 and you use the headphone jack dongle, get yourself this Pixel dongle instead. You're going to be very happy. So that's that. Now we're 18 minutes into this review, and I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the camera. Because holy crap is all I have to say. This camera, you know how all modern cameras today, like the iPhone 8, the Note 8, which is recording this right now, the V30, pretty much all the high-end OIS-based cameras are really phenomenal today. The Pixel last year set the bar, and despite the lack of OIS and an only f/2.0 lens, and everybody's been able to kind of catch up this year. So if those are like dialed up to 10, this phone and the Pixel 2 XL and the Pixel 2, dial it up to 11 or 12. It's again a quantum leap, a small leap, well, maybe not quantum then, but it's again a leap forward in terms of imaging performance. And it's not just because of OIS and the faster f/1.8 lens. It's because of AI. And let me explain this to you a little bit. So I think this is the best camera of any phone today, especially if you just mash the shutter key, right? And if you want manual controls and all that, this phone doesn't have it. And of course, you can install manual control apps, but I always feel the manual apps are not good enough because they don't integrate tightly with the hardware. So, aside of that, this phone, in terms of imaging, is amazing. How does it do it? Well, it uses AI, and it uses AI because it takes a photo and analyzes the photo on the device. You don't have to be connected to the internet. And based on Google's vast, database of images that it has from Google Photos and from Google searches and from indexing the web and all that, and its knowledge graph and its machine learning and its, neural network technology, it has gathered all this information about what a good photo should look like. And it can tweak the camera parameters to do that. It uses HDR plus by taking multiple pictures. Basically, the camera is constantly taking photos. And when you hit the shutter, it's taking all these photos around the time you hit the shutter and combining them into something amazing. It combines parts of the photos together as well. And so that gives Google the ability to do a few things that you can't really do with other phones. For example, this sensor has dual pixel, so that it basically can do really fast autofocus. It's got each pixel is divided in two. The Note 8 and the Galaxy S8 and the Galaxy S7 also have this feature. And because of that, the autofocus is really fast, but Google has decided, hey, can't we use these 2 pixels as a way to measure parallax and get some depth information, and then we can apply portrait mode. And that's exactly what they're doing. And the way they're doing it is basically by using AI. The AI knows what a portrait should look like, what good bokeh should look like, and it cuts out the outline of the face properly based on a bit of depth information from the dual pixel sensor and based on the performance of this AI. So it's really, really fascinating. And so let me show you some results, because all of this AI talk, and it's probably boring you to death and you probably don't really understand or don't care. So here we go. Camera app. Let me show you photos I took. So there's a shot earlier today that really illustrates the dynamic range that's possible with HDR+. It's this hotel in Hong Kong and at a conference, and I'm looking out from upstairs in the mezzanine, and look, you can see, let me hold the phone like this so I can zoom properly. You can see the color details of the lighting, and you can see the details of everybody down there, what they're doing, right? Okay, and then you zoom back out, and you can go outside and you can still get tons of detail on the outside. So the dynamic range, you can even get detail on the background there. So that's the kind of thing that this AI stuff can do. Here's a zoomed photo. Not bad for a zoomed photo. It's a little bit poor in terms of color rendition, in my opinion, but it's a tough shot to take because the light was very, very bright there. Here's another great photo. Lots of detail here. I mean, you can keep zooming and keep getting detail. There's that boat again. It's, wow. And the water in the pool looks gorgeous. So here's a portrait. This is my friend Richard Live in Engadget. I used to work with him when I was at Engadget. And you can see there's 2 choices here. There's the non-blurred background and the blurred background. This is using the portrait mode. And Richard's a good candidate because he's got spiky hair. Look at how well it managed to cut out his spikes and keep the umbrella out of focus back there. I've switched back to the, there we go. Now we can see it again. It is remarkable. And it does this even in low light. I've taken another photo of someone else that doesn't want to be shown on this video that is just as good in low light. So really impressive. Night shots are tremendous. It's interesting because right now this Note 8 is not giving it justice. The pool is much bluer on the screen here. And so again, tons of detail at night. You're getting so much information. A little bit of noise, but a little bit of noise is fine. And then, this is actually coming across much brighter than it should be. There we go. If I hold it close to the camera, it actually gives you a really good feel for the brightness level. You can see how much detail it's extracted here down to individual windows. This is the best photo I've taken of Hong Kong. This is what they call a live photo. There's this feature to turn on motion, and it records like 6 seconds of motion or 3 seconds or whatever. Similar to what Apple does. You can see the animation right now going. And this gives you a good idea of how, you know, how high quality this camera is. There's another shot, similar angle. I posted this photo last night on my various accounts on social because you look at that, you can even see the beam. It's just remarkable. So, another little light shot. Again, like, you're not seeing it because, there we go, now you're kind of seeing it because the note is kind of like making it too bright, but there's detail inside this circle here. And then here's a daytime shot in overcast. Check out how much detail is in the windows and the rust here coming out of the window sills. It's just amazing. This camera is blowing my mind. Here's a picture that I took during one of the talks of the glass that was in front of me. Look at the amount of detail reflections in the glass. It's just remarkable. So there you have it. The Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL have one of the best cameras I've ever used. Probably the best camera on the market today. Here's another motion video so you can see the motion with the boat moving in the background and the water. And yeah, it's like, wow. So I highly recommend it for the camera. This is going to be the one to beat, the one everybody's going to aim for now. I don't really think the iPhone X can match this because AI is what makes this trick happen, and Google has more data than anyone else at this point. The other thing I just didn't show you, but I want to quickly show you, is that you can use this feature called Google Lens. It's this button here, and if you have anything here, it does a quick analysis on the images, and it tells you what it is. Symphony Light is a daily light and sound show in Hong Kong. So somehow this boat is related to that, according to Wikipedia. Let's see if we can do another scene. Let's see if we can find Richard Lai. No, it doesn't recognize Richard Lai. That's unfortunate. But let's see if we can get a Hong Kong cityscape correct. It might just say cityscape. Yeah, cityscape. Anyway, you get the feel. The lens is part of this AI thing, but this obviously the lens uses the cloud, whereas the camera settings are kind of controlled by a local AI, which is really interesting. Same as the local AI that's used for the Music ID feature. So yeah, I love this phone. I'm super impressed. I think you should get it. This is definitely the best Android phone on the market today. And despite the lack of headphone jack. And if you want a smaller version, you're not sacrificing much. Just a little bit of battery life and a smaller display and more bezels. So keep that in mind. Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL. I hope you like this review. I hope it's in-depth enough for you. I hope it's better quality than the one I did live yesterday. And more importantly, subscribe, thumbs up if you liked it. And my podcast is where it's at. This is just to illustrate what I'm discussing on the podcast. mobiletechpodcast.com. You can go there and get the RSS feed and subscribe on any podcast app. And of course, we're on iTunes, we're on Pocket Casts, etc., etc. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to my podcast, and find me on Twitter at TNKGRL. That's Tank Girl without the vowels. TNKGRL. All right, folks, I'm going to sign out. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more soon. Cheers.